Good morning again, Deputy Presiding Officer and members of this Honorable House, those in the visiting gallery, those listening in, tune in to this sitting, I say good morning. I'd like to also read into the record the motion today. Whereas the Tobago House of Assembly met its legal obligation in accordance with Section 41 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996 of approving and submitting draft estimates of revenue and expenditure, its budget, for fiscal 2025 to the Cabinet before June 30th, 2024. And whereas the allocation to the Tobago House of Assembly emanating from the national budget for 2025 is $2.608 billion, or 66% of the request of the THA for fiscal 2025, thereby restricting the fiscal space of the THA. And whereas the central government disappointingly continues to allocate approximately 4.3% of the national budget to the THA, which is at the lower end of the Dispute Resolution Commission recommendation of 4.03 to 6.9%, and which is exceptionally insufficient to fund the proposed programs, projects, and activities of the THA for fiscal 2025, and which were designed to stimulate Tobago's socio-economic transformation. And whereas the island's socio-economic development is further hampered by the continuing practice of the Ministry of Finance to unilaterally withhold funds allocated to the THA by Parliament, and often sending such funds outside of the arrangement as prescribed in the Act 40 of 1996. And whereas the House in September 2024 unanimously approved a motion by the Honorable Chief Secretary for the Minister of Finance to allocate to the THA no less than 5.8% of the national budget to meet Tobago's urgent development priorities and address historical underfunding to the THA. And whereas the executive, technical, and administrative heads of the THA consequently met and engaged in robust budget reprioritization exercises, be it resolved that this House accepts the policy measures and associated programs and projects emanating from the budget reprioritization exercises, which were engineered to advance the socio-economic development of Tobago, notwithstanding prevailing fiscal constraints facing the THA in fiscal 2025. And be it further resolved that this House calls on the Minister of Finance to allocate funds to the Tobago House of Assembly in keeping with approved parliamentary appropriations and consistent with the prescriptions of the THA Act 40 of 1996. Deputy Presiding Officer, before I move the motion, I seek leave at Standing Order 42.6 to read extracts of my presentation, please.
Councillor, the leave is granted.
Deputy Presiding Officer, I stand proudly as Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy to present the reprioritized budget of this administration for fiscal 2025. I stand on the shoulders of the Honorable Chief Secretary, who ably led the Division of Finance and laid a strong foundation on which I build in the interest of the people of Tobago. It is my first statement of this kind to this Honorable House and the people of Tobago, specifically on the budget processes and fiscal realities that Tobago currently faces. Against this backdrop, permit me to just thank the Honorable Chief Secretary and the members of the Executive Council for vesting their faith and confidence in my professional capability and capacity. And for this, I express my sincere gratitude and know that I am committed to discharge my duties and responsibilities of this office with the highest level of professionalism, fairness, transparency, and public accountability. This is my unconditional commitment to the people of Tobago. Finally, it would be thoughtless of me if I did not extend particularly a heartfelt greeting and good morning to my family, my husband and my 3 sons, who provide me with unwavering support, understanding, and the joy we share as they continue to uplift me during this transformative season of our lives. Allow me to take this opportunity to also publicly wish my son his birthday, who celebrates a birthday today. I thank God for his blessings I thank God for his blessings and the gift of family that sustains and inspires me every day. Deputy Presiding Officer, with those introductory remarks, I now turn to the critically important contextual issues to lay the foundation on which the remainder of this presentation will be based. Deputy Presiding Officer, the THA reprioritized budget statement for fiscal 2025 is the outcome of two legally interwoven budgetary processes which are anchored by a single equation. You will recall, Deputy Presiding Officer, that on June 24th, 2024, in keeping with the provisions of Section 141, 1, 2, and 3 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act 40 of 1996, that the Chief Secretary, in his capacity as Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, presented the THA's budget statement together with the draft estimates of revenues and expenditures for fiscal 2025. In that presentation, Deputy Presiding Officer, this Honorable House, and by extension the wider global community, were again reminded of the fact that the current constitutional and legal prescription that informs and directs the THA's budgetary processes impairs Tobago of any real and meaningful fiscal and budgetary authority. Overwhelmingly, Deputy Presiding Officer, the THA's budget process is defined by uncertainties, especially as it relates to the parliamentary appropriations, and even more critically, the release and receipt of these releases of all the approved appropriations by the Ministry of Finance to the THA. In this regard, Deputy Presiding Officer, our 1976 Republican Constitution and the THA Act are nakedly vacant in their provisions of adequate foundations of powers to promote and protect the implementation of the strategically selected self-determination development agenda of the people of Tobago and their island government. It is this absence of our right to self-determined destiny that continues to power the lifelong struggles of us as Tobagonians. Currently, Deputy Presiding Officer, the THA is legally required to submit its draft estimates of revenues and expenditure to Cabinet on or before June 30th for its consideration in the national budget that is presented sometime around September. Now, these colonial arrangements vest the Cabinet with unfettered powers to scrutinize, approve, or disapprove the policies and associated programs and projects in the Tobago budget without reverting to the THA. Relatedly, the Cabinet also has the prerogative to finance the THA budget in whatever degree it desires without justification or consultation. Deputy Presiding Officer, there is no equivalent provision or even a mere equal opportunity for the THA to influence the budget of Trinidad or of Trinidad and Tobago after it has submitted to Cabinet and then to the Parliament in Trinidad. The simple and profound question is why the THA budget cannot be presented unaltered to the Parliament for its consideration, thereby giving it a degree of national protection from the political vagaries of the Cabinet. It is worth explaining here that the structure of representation in the National Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, combined with its politically intertwined relationship with the Cabinet, creates a dynamic where the Cabinet can exercise bad mind, spitefulness, and unreasonable control over the budget and the economic policies of the Tobago House of Assembly, which places the people of Tobago in a disadvantaged position. This situation, Deputy Presiding Officer, subjects Tobago to the traditional domination by a majority party in Trinidad, effectively reducing Tobago to a colonial-style relationship with the central government. Relatedly, the Cabinet, more precisely the Minister of Finance via the Ministry of Finance, can and he does delay the disbursement, change the legally prescribed disbursement formula, and even withholds funds without the decency of the appropriate conversations with the Chief Secretary or with myself as Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, or any Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy. Moreover, since this administration took office of the THA, it has been noted that the PNM cabinet is increasingly asserting its illegal right to exercise control over the finances of the THA, especially its abusive right to unilateral limit and thereby effectively change the parliamentary appropriated budget as it deems necessary. What is even more discomforting and dangerous, Deputy Presiding Officer, is that in the midst of the decades of fiscal, financial, and legislative campaign of denial against Tobago and Tobagonians, they openly seek to deceive us by calling on Tobagonians to support two grossly inadequate Tobago autonomy bills, which do not future-proof Tobago from the unfettered domination and the fiscal abuses that we have tasted and seen of central governments. Let me make it absolutely clear, Deputy Presiding Officer, that we on this side stands resolutely committed to Tobago's right to self-determination within the Twin Island Republic of Tobago and Trinidad, but certainly not the false version of self-determination that is being deceptively promoted and by the known long-standing enemy of Tobago's self-determination or its autonomy project. Deputy Presiding Officer, could you imagine, with two physical definitions of Tobago, one for administrative purposes and one for legislative jurisdiction? This is what the Tobago Judases are racing around Tobago at breakneck speed, telling us to support. What is more, a lot more of this would be said in the debate from my colleagues here today. Let me now turn to Tobago's development needs for fiscal 2025. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is no secret that Tobago has significant socio-economic development needs. In fact, the most recent national accounts data for Tobago suggests that the island has a per capita GDP of under US $4,000, less than half of the national figure of approximately US $14,000 as of 2023. The relatively low GDP in Tobago can be attributed primarily to the historical underfunding of the island's development budget. Indeed, if we look at the public expenditure data over the period 2000 to 2024, it reveals that the shortfalls in terms of recurrent allocations to the THA average about 27%. And by contrast, in the same period, the shortfall in terms of development allocations to the THA average of a significant amount of 80%. Beyond the low level of its GDP per capita, there's limited diversification of Tobago's productive base. Data on sectorial contribution of the island's GDP show that about 95% of the island's GDP are concentrated in the services sector, comprising of the state sector, the financial sector, and the tourism sector as of 2023. With the underfunding of the development program, there's limited fiscal space to effect social and economic transformation of the Tobago economy. But what is more troubling, Deputy Presiding Officer, is that the THA inherited a huge debt overhang from the past regime, which continues to cripple our efforts to engage in a new transformative development activities. This administration inherited a liability of approximately $950 million from the previous administration. Deputy Presiding Officer, as I speak to you, there is no sight of any financially practical option to completely liquidate this huge inherited liability in any efficient and sustainable manner from the minuscule and declining development allocations that we have been receiving. Now, what is clear, Deputy Presiding Officer, is that our predecessors, in the most irresponsible manner, in the face of receiving and accessing bond financing of $165 million, ran up huge liabilities without any clear plans to liquidate them. How reckless can one be? And you know what? Much of these liabilities were incurred for electioneering purposes in a desperate attempt to buy votes, mere days before the last THA elections. And might I say, they still lost. Interestingly, the individual who presided over this messy fiasco is out there asking questions even about me, when he himself has a lot of serious questions to answer. That being said, Deputy Presiding Officer, Tobago's developmental needs for fiscal 2025 were carefully packaged in the budget statement presided by our dear Honorable Chief Secretary last June. And they were all aimed at unlocking Tobago's development potential, which equates to laying the foundation for the transformative development of Tobago as the greatest little island on the planet. Deputy Presiding Officer, as you may recall, the critical developmental priorities for Tobago as identified in the budget statement for 2025 include some of the following: strengthening of the constitutional and legislative foundational governance relationship between the THA and the central government, digitization of the THA, business development, economic development, and diversification, development of the agriculture and agro-processing sectors, development of a well-curated and integrated tourism sector and the exploitation of the orange economy with an elevated focus on improvement of the tourism infrastructure, product enhancement, we look at airlift, and human resource development and research capacity. The development of education and human capital designed to ensure the provision of quality education for our population. Development of health and social safety net support systems to enhance the reliability, predictability, and sustainability of our citizenry. The expansion of housing options and housing quality through the provision of affordable housing solutions to low and middle income residents of Tobago. Creating and nourishing the socio-economic and institutionally enabling environment for youth development through some development projects and programs to support the sporting sector and our youth. Sustainable development of Tobago's natural resources for the promotion of Tobago as the greatest little island on the planet, with the creation of a new unit under the Office of the Chief Secretary. Deputy Presiding Officer, Tobago's developmental needs are huge and requires urgent and focused attention. It requires that the central government needs to be sensitive to the needs of Tobago, and one that sees any investment in Tobago's development is an investment in the national development and diversification. It requires a central government that would not mortgage Tobago's development for petty party gutter politics. Deputy Presiding Officer, allow me to now examine the budgetary constraints for fiscal 2025. Deputy Presiding Officer, there exists a significantly huge gap between Tobago's urgent socio-economic development needs and the allocations that we receive for fiscal 2025. You will recall earlier this year that the Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, the Honorable Fali Chavez Augustine, requested a total of $3.956 billion, comprising of $2.819 billion for recurrent expenditure, about $1 billion for development expenditures, $91.9 million for the unemployment relief program, and 43.4% for CPEP. But disappointingly, Deputy Presiding Officer, the Minister of Finance in his recent 2025 budget statement only allocated $2.608 billion to the THA, and this is disaggregated as follows: $2.376 billion for recurrent expenditures, $205 million for capital or development expenditures, $18 million for the unemployment relief program, and $9.2 million for CPEP. Deputy Presiding Officer, although the overall budgetary allocation to the THA represents about 4.37% of the national budget and falls within the DRC within the 4.03 and 6.9 range as stipulated by the DRC, this share of resources is unreasonable and insufficient to significantly transform Tobago's economy. At the time of the DRC ruling, sir, In 2000, the population of Tobago was roughly 4.03% of the national population. But if one looks at the demographic data of Trinidad and Tobago today, you would see that this is no longer the case. In fact, Tobago's population as a share of the national population has grown continuously from about 4.03% in 2000 to about 5.1% as of 2022. In keeping with the core principles of the recommendations of the DRC, the THA share of the national budget should be no less than 5.1%. And it is on this basis, Deputy Presiding Officer, that the THA requested a mere 5.8% of the national budget for fiscal 2025. Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration have made several representations for Tobago to both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance to be allocated a fair and reasonable share of the 5.8% of the national budget, but was insensitively ignored, and Tobago was again denied because the Minister of Finance said if he has to give Tobago their fair share, Trinidad will receive a lesser share. So what we are left with, Deputy Presiding Officer, is an unfettered and an unfair fiscal decision of the central government to give 5.1% of the country's population only 4.37% of the national budget and give the remaining 95.63% of the budget to the 94.6% of the population in Trinidad. The impact of this denial is that Tobago was underfunded by about $885 million for fiscal 2025. Deputy Presiding Officer, the allocation of $2.376 billion to the THA for recurrent expenditure for fiscal 2025 is disaggregated as follows. We received an allocation of $723 million, or 30%, for personal expenditure, 713.6 or 30% for goods and services, 914.3 million or 39% for the current transfers and subsidies, and 24.9 or 1% for minor equipment purchases. The shortfall in recurrent allocations to the Assembly is about $441.2 million or 15.7%. This shortfall in recurrent allocation means that there's limited fiscal space to even restrict recurrent expenditure and transfer monies to augment our development program. It also means that we cannot liquidate the huge inherited liabilities in the short term. Deputy Presiding Officer, although the shortfall in recurrent allocations to the THA is significant with regard to development program allocations, the impact of the underfunding is more severe and concerning to us. Deputy Presiding Officer, the development program allocation, as we know, for fiscal 2025 is $205 million, or approximately 21.1% less than the $260 million allocated to the THA in fiscal 2024, and 49% less than the $400 million allocated in fiscal 2022. What this actually means is that between 2022 and 2024, the central government cut the development budget allocation to the THA by half. And this is clearly an organized P&M campaign to defund Tobago's socio-economic development program and the growth of Tobago's sectors. Deputy Presiding Officer, the overall allocation of $205 million for development program to the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2025 is disaggregated as follows. $300,000 for pre-investment, $500,000 for the productive sectors, $74.3 million is allocated for economic infrastructure, $100.4 million for social infrastructure, and $29.6 million for the multi-sectorial and other services sector. The overall shortfall in development program allocations to the THA for fiscal 2025 is a whopping $797 million, or 79.5%. Deputy Presiding Officer, let me demonstrate to you now the significant negative impacts on the development program the development work program of the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2025. In fiscal 2024, it cost the Tobago House of Assembly $31.8 million to fund CPEP. We were only allocated $9.2 million. Likewise, for fiscal 2024, it cost the Tobago House of Assembly $78.4 million to fund the URP program, and only $18 million was allocated in fiscal 2025. Also, it cost $3.5 million to fund the financial assistance program to our university students of Tobago, but only $500,000 was allocated in fiscal 2025. Additionally, it cost $43 million to fund the school feeding program that feeds our children of Tobago in the public school system, but only $26.5 million was allocated in fiscal 2025. Moreover, we requested $25 million to fund the loan guarantee program that will assist businesses to access loan finances in order to enhance and scale up their operations. And that is not in the THA, it's in the commercial bank. We are just standing collateral for these businesses. We asked for $25 million. The central government only allocated $5 million, which can only guarantee probably 1 or 2 businesses in Tobago. Additionally, we requested $613 million to fund the Tobago Regional Health Authority in fiscal 2025, and this is the authority that manages 2 major hospitals in Tobago as well as the health facilities, but we were only allocated $567 million, a funding gap of $45 million. Also, we requested $15 million to start the reconstruction of the Scarborough Secondary School, and we were only allocated $500,000. Imagine. The THA also requested the sum of $25.3 million to promote and market Tobago as a tourism destination, and was allocated a measly $1 million under the development program. Deputy Presiding Officer, what is clear is that with these meager allocations to the THA, it is very unlikely that there will be significant structural shift in the Tobago economy. It is quite unfortunate that the central government seems not to understand that, as I said, an investment in Tobago's development is an investment in national development and the much-needed economic diversification, which has been an elusive national objective. This administration understands the power of consistency, and we will continue to take small steps towards making Tobago the greatest little island on the planet. Deputy Presiding Officer, permit me now to turn to our reprioritization framework for the priority projects and programs for fiscal 2025. On account of the huge shortfall in the parliamentary appropriations to the THA, we were again forced to devise creative strategies to execute our development mandate to Tobagonians. In this regard, the Chief Secretary constituted and presided over a 2-day retreat, day 1 which was exclusively for secretaries and assistant secretaries, and day 2 for the administrative arm of the THA, which included the administrators and the technocrats across the division to join the conversation and the contributions towards our priorities. Deputy Presiding Officer, the core activities and exercises of the retreat aim primarily to identify the critical projects that would significantly improve the standard of living and well-being of Tobago. We strive for balanced development by ensuring the best geographical spread of our projects and programs. We deployed the Strategic Selectivity Institutional Framework, which is a globally recognized methodology to inform the selection of our development program priorities, and it involves prioritizing our development policies, objectives, initiatives, and resource allocations to achieve the most impactful and sustainable outcomes for Tobago. This approach requires a deep and intimate understanding of Tobago's unique context, including its economic conditions, social needs, political and legislative landscapes, and its environmental factors. This model focuses on the high-priority areas where programs and projects are likely to impact a wider cross-section of positive transformation and change. Some of the criteria that we use to assess our projects were economic and social impact, the cost effectiveness of our projects and programs, feasibility, sustainability, risk, and social impact. Deputy Presiding Officer, the policy decisions for 2025 emanating from the reprioritization of the budget streamlining exercise is as follows. We are going to project our expenditure for recurrent at $2.08 billion, a reasoned and calculated development program expenditure of $380 million. We will shift the funding to fund URP at a total cost of $78 million. And similarly, for CPEP, we will fund it at a projected cost of $32 million. We also intend to provision for a contingency reserve in the event of urgent and unforeseen expenditure of $117 million. Deputy Presiding Officer, as we commemorate 44 years of the THA's existence, we do so with pride and purpose. I'm pleased to announce the 44 in 44 initiative, a reprioritization of our development program and some of our recurrent objectives that embodies our commitment to transformational governance and that touches all the corners of the island of Tobago. These 44 projects, diverse in scope and ambition, are testaments to our unwavering dedication to improving the lives of every Tobagonian. The initiatives are not just words and numbers on a page, but they represent the steadfast commitment of this administration to addressing the island's critical infrastructural needs, improving the public service delivery, and creating an ecosystem for our businesses to thrive and for our economy to grow, develop, and transform. Permit me now, Deputy Presiding Officer, to list some of our key reprioritized projects, initiatives, and their estimated costs. Under the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development, we intend to roll out a mega farming project across several locations in Tobago and a shade house project in Friendship at a total estimated cost of $13.5 million. We also intend to construct a food hub in Mason Hall at a cost of $16 million. We intend to reconfigure the Louisdor processing facility to an agro-processing facility at an estimated cost of $5 million. We intend to advance the Agriculture Access Road Program at a cost of $15 million. We will construct the Veterinary Diagnostic Lab at Belmont Farm Road at a estimated cost of $10 million and operationalize the Tobago Agri-Business Research Institute at an estimated cost of $3.5 million. Under the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, and Transportation, the priority projects include the upgrade of the Store Bay Beach facility to create a new flagship attraction. Phase 1 would come at a cost in this fiscal of estimated $10 million. The restoration of the historical value of the Fort King George Lighthouse project, we will complete that project at a cost of $2 million. The Division of Tourism will continue the Scarborough Beautification Project aimed at uplifting our capital with a Scarborough Walk of Fame, beautiful landscaping and seawall enhancement, beautification and branding of Tobago at a cost of estimated $2 million. And another priority is the Pigeon Point Infrastructure Upgrade Project, which includes the restoration of the Swallows beachfront. We'll put some facilities at the No Man's Land and do some rehabilitative works at that shopping plaza near the Pigeon Point Gate entrance. And that would come at a cost of only $1 million because we'll be using our internal resources under the Unemployment Relief Program and other developmental workers within the Assembly. Under the Division of Education, Research, and Technology, the division will do a revision of its financial assistance program to ensure greater alignment and uptake between the offerings of the financial assistance and the island's labor needs. And we'll focus on the educational interests and pursuit in public sector studies, such as public sector financial management, logistics, supply chain management, procurement, and also tourism, areas in the field of tourism. The Division of Education will also advance the implementation of the Community Impact Program that focuses on literacy, numeracy, student discipline, parental involvement, and teacher efficacy at a cost of only $600,000. The Division of Education will also ensure the construction of a Coreland Early Childhood Center, childhood care and educational facility at a cost of approximately $8 million. Some of the critical projects under the Division of Community Development, Youth Development, and Sport are the construction works of the Charlottesville Multi-Purpose Center and Pavilion at a cost of $12.1 million. The completion of the Goodwood Recreation Ground Pavilion at a cost of $5.2 million. Phase 2 construction works of the Coreland Beach Sport Arena at a cost of $9.7 million. Refurbishment and upgrade works of the Shore Park Hard Courts at an estimated cost of $10.3 million. Preparatory and development works of the Culloden Playing Field at a cost of $2 million. And we will roll out the Youth Residential Learning and Training Program at a cost of $1 million. Under the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development for fiscal 2025, we will ensure that we execute the Southwest Tobago Drainage Upgrade Program at an estimated cost. 5 minutes, okay. Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. The Drainage Upgrade Program of estimated at $12.6 million. The Friendship Connector Road is a priority project for us at a cost of $32 million in this fiscal. The Bad Rock Roadway Alignment and Improvement Project at an estimated cost of $15 million. The implementation of the Community Restoration Program at a cost of $15 million. And the Levy Fix This Infrastructure Development Program at a cost of $12.5 million. Under the Division of Health, Wellness, and Social Protection, the priorities are the acquisition of an MRI scanner and CT scanner at a cost of $10 million, the establishment and operationalization of the Tobago Cardiac Care Program at a cost of $4.4 million, the acquisition of 8 new ambulances at a cost of $9.6 million to bring our total new fleet to 12 ambulances. Establishment of the Baby Box Initiative at a cost of $1.8 million. The restoration of the public health facility at Signal Hill at a cost of $7.2 million. And the digitization of our social protection services and grants at a cost of $3.5 million. Under Division of Settlement, Public Utilities, and Urban Development, we have the improvement of the Coreland wastewater treatment and lift system at an estimated cost of $4 million. The construction of 2- and 3-bedroom low-cost houses at a cost of $4.2 million. The Rise Land Development Project, using a PPP arrangement, the development of 37 parcels of land at the Castara Housing Development at an estimated cost of $1 million, and also development of land, 50 parcels of land in the Adelphi Estate at a cost of $1 million. Under the Office of the Chief Secretary, they will execute the implementation of the Public Officer Subsidized Housing Program at a cost of $10 million. We will also advance a Tobago Autonomy Project, which involves preparing and sensitizing and educating the people of Tobago for Tobago's economy. That is also a priority project under the Office of the Chief Secretary. The third project under the Office of the Chief Secretary is the Tobago Online Digitization Project, estimated at $2 million in fiscal 2025. Under the Division of Finance, we will support entrepreneurs with grant funding in sectors of agriculture, fishing, and tourism at a cost of $2 million, provide specialized loan facilities for these same sectors at a cost of $3 million. We'll establish the Loan Guarantee Program to support Tobago's SMEs at a cost of $25 million. And finally, the upgrade and refurbishment of this very same building, the Assembly Legislature building, at a cost of $1.3 million. In addition to these 44 projects, we are remain committed to successfully complete these ongoing initiatives. This administration will actively pursue a range of ongoing projects aimed at fostering sustainable development and enhancing the quality of life for our residents. In the tourism sector, efforts are being made to expand and diversify attractions, positioning the island as a premier destination for ecotourism and cultural experiences. Simultaneously, time is up. I thank you very much for the contribution to this motion. I beg to move.